The Inpachi series. Once there was a forest that had stood for over 1,000 years. However, that would all change on one fateful day. A group of humans arrived on the outskirts of this forest and began to make it their home. One of the trees in particular would watch as they went about their daily lives. This tree's name was Inpachi. He noticed some of the humans would venture into the forest and carve numbers onto the biggest and strongest looking trees. Inpachi was one of them. He had the number 18 carved upon him. The following morning, the men returned. To Inpachi's horror, the purposes of these numbers became apparently clear. The men were chopping down each of the great trees, moving from number to number. They were using their remains for materials to further build their village. One by one, the trees would fall, until eventually it was Inpachi's turn. Though only a mere tree, Inpachi wished with all his being to have the strength to protect his fellow trees. However, it was to no avail. He too would be felled. As his existence began to slip away, he felt himself overcome with a desire that he had never felt before. A desire for revenge. This feeling emanated from him. Like a foul stench, it attracted malevolent spirits to him. One of these spirits would find him and merge with the husk of Inpachi, in turn possessing him and absorbing his final will. Now united, Inpachi rose and began his rampage, slaughtering all in the woods that day. From then on, he would attack any who entered his domain. That was until he crossed paths with a swordsman and a lizard man. Inpachi attacked, however, he proved no match. With 2 clean strikes, the swordsman defeated him. However, this was not enough to kill Inpachi, as his conviction to protect the forest still remained, and so again, he would rise. As he went, searching for the 2 through the forest, on his travels he came across another. Realizing he would need more strength to defeat his foes, Inpachi lit his soul ablaze, gaining considerably more power. However, there was a cost. This power was now on a timer. After defeating the man, the now blazing Inpachi found the 2. They were fighting a demon. Inpachi attacked and joined in the fray. Though equal at first, over the course of the battle, the lizard man would go through a transformation and achieve a new level of power. With that new power, he would defeat the demon and tear Inpachi's head from his body. The lizard man would even turn against his own comrades. However, that is another story for another day. After the dust settled, Inpachi was able to piece himself back together. However, to his horror, he realized he had burned the very forest he had sworn to protect to the ground in his drunken haze for revenge. And so, utterly broken, and with no more purpose left in life, Inpachi would die here, a broken soul. However, his suffering would not end, even after death, as a Dark World scientist crept out from the shadows and took the corpse of Inpachi for his own experiments. He would desecrate the body of Inpachi to continue fighting even more. And what's even worse, this new form would still succumb to defeat. The original Inpachi made its debut in the OCG set, The New Ruler, all the way back in 2002. Following this, each new card form would release one after the other. Blazing Inpachi would release a year later in Invader of Darkness, which you might notice is named after the monster he fought with. Pretty cool. Following Blazing Inpachi, Charcoal Inpachi would be released in 2004's Soul of the Duelist. And then later that same year, the final form, Woodburg Inpachi, would be released in Rise of Destiny. As you can see, there are only 4 cards in this series, and because of this, they can only be classed as a series rather than an archetype, since they have no support. What's fun about these cards though is that 3 of them are fire attributed, while the original one is earth, which shows the journey this monster went on. However, also, half of the monsters are machines, while the other half are pyro, which again shows the journey this monster went on. However, it would have been more fitting if the first form was a plant monster. Fun fact, by the way, this is one of my first ever favorite sets of cards as a wee lad, because they were one of the first cards that I noticed had artworks that told a story. Without even looking at the flavor text, you can see that just from the artworks, these 4 cards tell a story. And if I had to pick a favorite, it's Charcoal Inpachi. Just looking at the card, you can see it tells a tale of sadness all on its own. In the original Japanese, this monster's name is Daimokujin Inpachi. This translates to big wood person. However, the Inpachi portion of its name is a mashup of the pronunciation for the Japanese numerals 1 and 8. And that number is derived from the number carved on the monster's chest. This monster's physical design seems to be allusions to the Chinese Muren training dummies. That literally translates to wooden man posts. These were used to practice martial arts against. In fact, this monster bears a striking resemblance to another fictional character, Mokujin from the Tekken series. Looking at his name too, he is also called Wooden Person, and is also an inanimate object brought to life. Let's take a look at the monsters that make up this series, shall we? First we have Inpachi, known in the Japanese as Large Wooden Man 18. Its flavor text reads, a log that attacks lost travelers in the forest. Originally a big tree, it was cut down and possessed by a wicked spirit. When its soul is set ablaze, it becomes the Blazing Inpachi, known in the Japanese as Blazing Wooden Man 18. Its flavor text reads, a wicked wooden spirit now burning in flames. Its fire attack is powerful, but it will soon be nothing but ashes. After its soul has burnt out, it becomes Charcoal Inpachi, known in the Japanese as Large Charcoal 18. Its flavor text reads, a wicked wooden spirit that has burned out. The barbecue grilled with this charcoal is so awesome that everybody thinks it's priceless. Notice that the kanji for person is gone from this monster's Japanese name. The significance of this is that its life has ended now and is no longer alive, so that it is no longer considered a person. Also, the fact that people are coming by this monster and picking it apart and using it for charcoal, I thought it was a little bit much for the sad tale I was telling, and that's a bit too much, so I thought we'll leave that out, but it's interesting when you look at it there. However, after a certain someone gets a hold of this monster's corpse, it is remodeled into the Woodburg Inpachi, known in the Japanese as Synthetic Wooden Man 18. Its flavor text reads, the new form of the enigmatic Inpachi. Remodeled by cutting-edge Dark World technology, maneuverability has been sacrificed for strong armor, which is considered more important. Finally, every card that these monsters appear in are Double Attack, Two-Man Cell Battle, Unified Front, Backfire, Kickfire, Memory of the Adversary, and one that I didn't weave into the story because I don't really know how it relates, 1 or 8. But other than that, it's time to thank the sponsors of this video. Jonathan Young, shout out to you. Thank you for giving that little bit extra as well. All the names you see below, thank you very much for supporting this channel. You're all awesome. Thank you. And that's everything. Bye, everyone.